I am recording.
I am recording.
Hello.
Hello.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Um, hello, sirs. Yeah, welcome to another podcast with Will and Nate.
So we're talking about It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, Season 1, Episode 3, Underage Drinking, a National Concern.
Oh, it is a national concern. Hey, Nate,
Yeah,
was this directed by our good friend John Fortenberg?
it was not. It was directed by some guy named Dan.
I was gonna say this one kind of sucks, and I thought that might be the reason why.
Really?
No, of
Oh,
course not.
okay.
Um,
I was
I
going to
just
ask you to
yeah.
start off with an anecdote about underage drinking, but then I was like, oh yeah, I'm talking to Will Noon. So,
Uh, hey, I have plenty of underage drinking stories or
do you?
anecdotes. I mean, no, not really. But in high school, when my friends would have parties at their houses, I would just find an empty room and go to sleep on a couch. And then, yeah, otherwise, if there wasn't a party, we would just all meet at the Taco Bell and then walk in mass to the train tracks and drink. Everyone would drink by the train tracks, which seems like the safest possible.
Yeah. I feel like underage drinking by the train tracks is like uh, a universally accepted norm.
I mean, it's the ideal place for children that don't understand like the limits of alcohol consumption. It's
Yeah,
the safest place.
perfect.
There are no cars, so it's much safer.
Yeah, and most of the time there's no trains. If you want to break it down
Yeah,
like that,
statistically,
most of the time there's no traffic
yeah, like
on the
90% of the
tracks.
time. Where can you get
I'd say
that
even more
number?
than that.
98% of the time. Oh yeah, I guess trains are pretty fast. Okay, so thanks Dan for directing the show. This episode. So basically, this episode opens to the like a super packed Patty's Pub, which I guess they haven't really established it that much, but it's a very rare occurrence. Um, after season and after season after season, you realize that it's almost always empty. But this far into it does anyway. But they all comment how great it is, how packed it is, how wonderful it is. Everyone's amazed. Everyone's in a great mood. They've never had this many people in the bar.
What's going on? This is like the greatest night Patty's has ever seen. I know. What a young crowd, right?
I think that this combined with the first episode is like the busiest Patty's has ever been.
Right. I was
It's like season 1 might have the most patrons in the bar.
Yeah, exactly. It's almost always empty, so it's weird that, like you said, yeah, with Terrell promoting it. Uh, I mean, basically, 2 out of 3 episodes, Patty's is the hottest bar in Philadelphia. One
Yeah.
for gay people and two for underage kids.
This first scene has some good Charlie Day dancing.
Oh my God, he gets excited and says he feels like dancing.
Mm-hmm.
And first he's got a nice handshake. He's just shaking his hand. Then it moves onto his body as he steps on the floor and does some really nice like back bending sort of. Any clue what that move would be called?
No, but it's really nice.
Yeah, that's the thing that you always forget about actors is that often they're trained in multiple disciplines. See some like generic actor person, and then all of a sudden they have uh like Shirley from Community. Doesn't she have a ridiculous singing voice?
Yes.
Yeah, isn't it annoying? They're like typically more attractive than normal people. They can obviously act, then they can sing, they can dance. It's like, come on, people.
Yeah. Well, I mean, their childhood probably was a little bit different than ours.
True. And I guess that's why they're on TV. Anyway, so yeah, Charlie's great. He's the best. He's dancing. Let's see what else. Oh, that's when they also, so Mac, Dennis, and Charlie are over by the jukebox, just appreciating how great everything is. How like everyone's having a good time. The bar's packed. This is so great. And this is the first time in the episode that someone references. Uh, they look over and see D at the bar, and someone, I think Mac says, "Hey, I think that dude's gonna bang your sister."
He's he's talking about the character Trey.
Oh, Trey. Trey is so cool.
It's a great name for. I mean, I guess I don't know what high school is like anymore, but at the time, that was a very good like jock, popular guy name.
Oh yeah, it's a very cool name. Cool name for a cool dude. Oh, and I think my favorite line from the scene is when Charlie does go out onto the dance floor to start dancing and feeling it. Max says, "I love that little man." So yeah, so eventually their excitement kind of changes when Dennis is like, "Yeah, pretty young crowd," and then I think Max, yeah, what do you think? People in college? He's like, "Yeah, I don't know, really young crowd." And that's when this perfect actress walks by or act. Wait, do we call everyone actors now?
Yeah, actor.
Okay, sorry. When this perfect actor walks by and Dennis says, "Hey, you, how old are you?" And she turns around and she looks scared and pretty young, but then as soon as she starts talking, you see her braces. She's like 21. And that's when he reacts, flips out, pulls the power cord from the jukebox to kill the music, and then says, "All right, everybody out."
Title screen.
Perfect cut to a title screen of, yes, Underage Drinking, a national concern.
Yeah, I'm guessing now that we're not either one of us or neither of us are good candidates to talk about like fake IDs or anything, because I definitely never did that, because where I'm from, I don't even know where the nearest bar would have been.
Right. Wait, so like how did people drink in high school?
There were a couple local guys that you could always count on. You give them $20.
Gotcha. The
Yeah.
the equivalent of the homeless guy that you buy 40s off of.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, usually they're nice younger guys that, maybe haven't left the area to go to college or
Right.
do anything other than farm. But yeah, and then like so you do that and then you basically just like go out into the country.
Right.
Because there's no people around. So yeah, fake ID wasn't really a necessity for us.
You ride your Vespa out onto the range?
I didn't ride the Vespa.
I just thought it was cool that you had a Vespa on the farm.
Yeah, it is very weird.
Where did you get the Vespa?
I think my dad bought it from someone that lived in the town. So it like made a little more sense, but still not very much sense to have a Vespa on like dirt roads.
Right.
There was one paved road in our town.
For
I
those
guess that would be acceptable, and of course like a highway. But in the actual town, there was one paved road.
For those of you that don't know, Nate grew up in central. Wait, no, is it Western?
Western
Is
Western
yeah,
extreme Western Kansas.
Western Kansas, which is uncolloquially the middle of nowhere. While both
Figuratively and literally,
the middle of the country, the direct middle of the United States, but also. I went to visit his folks on a cross country motorcycle trip, and I got to experience the Lazy H.
The Lazy HV.
Oh wait, sorry, the Lazy HV.
V as in Victor.
Right. But more importantly for me was visiting Mount Sunflower.
Yeah, it's the highest point in Kansas at 4,039 feet above sea level.
Wow, it's crazy because I like rode my bike. My motorcycle up there and just like hiked the rest of the way. And I actually spent the night on top of the peak. At the very peak, I pitched a tent. I was camping the whole time, and it was pretty windy up there, but I managed to survive.
And I bet my parents were really trying to convince you to stay at the house.
No, I think they got a kick out of it. I think they were excited.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, anytime I talk to my parents, they ask me what Will Noon is up to.
Great folk,
That can't be the only parents who ask what Will Noon is up to. He's a fascinating character. But yeah. So what did you do? You got out to the farm like during the day?
Yeah, that was So I was coming off whatever 70 maybe, I don't know, whatever highway that is, and then it kind of cuts north, and I went straight on this little road, and then it got to like sort of the middle of nowhere, and then I turned right on highway whatever, the dirt road.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Road 3.
Road 3, there you go. So at that point, I was on this DR 650 that I bought in Austin and was riding. And so I guess there are dips where it'll go down and it's kind of a wash, like a seasonal. I don't know if it's like every 10 years or every year it'll rain and wash out. Does
It's
that
like
make
every
sense?
year, every second year. It happened pretty regularly, like not every 10 years. It was like um, pretty regular. And then we couldn't go into town.
Oh, yeah, because I knew that it must happen. You can tell that it's a wash or something. I don't know what you would refer to it as, but
Well, there's the Smoky Hill River, which doesn't run anymore, but that's where that is. And when it floods, that's what happens. The river runs.
right. So, but I guess I couldn't tell because it was dry at the time. How high, whether it was like a foot deep or like 5 feet deep. What did it get to when it was bad?
That's a good question. I mean, I haven't lived there for like 20 years or something like that, but I think if it's above like a foot and a half, I would say you either need to be in a large vehicle, like I guess you could get through with a pickup trucks, like a bigger pickup truck, or
Right.
obviously like tractors and shit can go over that and go through that.
Mhm. Gotcha.
But I mean, yeah, it gets to the point where that river runs and it's pretty gnarly.
So, yeah, the reason why I was convinced that it wasn't just like rolling hills and it was actually the bottom of a wash or like the bed of a dry river is that the dirt road became a sand road.
Yeah.
And
Oh my God.
and when you're
Yes.
on a motorcycle and you're in a new area and like although a new area should have prompted me to go slower, but I was probably ripping down that highway. I was on an off-road bike, so I was like, fuck it, this is a dirt road. I'm on a dirt bike. I'll go. I
Yeah.
was probably doing 50 miles an hour,
Mm-hmm.
and when I hit that sandy wash, I sort of started to get this like wobble. And
Yes.
on a
I know
motorcycle,
exactly what you're talking about.
yeah, for people that don't, there's like this gyroscopic thing that can happen when you get like a wobble or something that happens, and the bars and the bike just start uh like gyroscoping and wobbling, and it gets worse and worse, and you have to like
It's kind of
get
like fishtailing in some senses.
right. Yeah,
I mean, I'm assuming people know what that is.
yeah, like if you're skidding and you like turn the wheel too much, and then it overcompensates, and that's like usually when people get into trouble is almost what they're doing. Like they make it worse. So yeah, it's this thing that can get out of control, and there was definitely a moment when I was like, "Fuck, I'm going down on a dirt road, and I'm going way too fast." Um, but I did manage to recover and steady the bike and slowed down quite a bit.
Yeah. That same dirt road when I was 14 years old, I did basically exactly what you just described. I was driving to band practice in a Chevy S10, and like coming up one of those last hills, kind of by that riverbed area that you're talking about. There was a semi truck coming, and we were both kind of in the middle of the road, so I had to swerve to avoid head on, and then I overcorrected coming back onto that like sand shoulder, and I rolled the pickup 3 times. I think was not wearing a seatbelt, and basically just got some cuts on my neck and my ears.
That's crazy.
Yeah, the so I ended up when the pickup stopped rolling upright, and the driver's side was completely smashed down because I guess that was the side that it kind of like rolled and bounced off of.
Mm-hmm.
Probably after like the first roll, like kind of bounces. Yeah, that. So I guess not wearing my seatbelt saved my life. Probably. I don't know. Maybe not.
Oh wow, I didn't even think about that. That you were like pushed out of the way of like the smushed in car.
Yeah, yeah. So if you can picture it, like I was overcorrecting, turning left.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess the first roll just like bounced me over to the passenger side,
Right.
and I
Yeah.
just stayed there. Yeah, I was fine.
Wild. Okay.
My
So
bass was fine too.
wait, you had your
Gotta-
base in the
gotta-
cab.
No, not in the cab. So it was a S10 pickup truck with the cover over the trunk, or the God, I sound so unfarm boy like right
yeah,
now.
This is
The
cringeworthy
covered,
even for me listening.
Yeah, the bed is covered, whatever
Yes.
that's called.
Yep.
Bed cover.
The cap or shell or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. So yeah, it was in that, and yeah, it was fine.
That's awesome. I hope it had a good case, or they appreciated that case.
Was not in a case. It was my first bass.
What? It was just
that
laying in the back.
that I bought for like $90 at a pawn shop. Yeah, it was just laying in the back. I mean, like it got a couple chunks taken out of it, but like the electronics still worked and everything.
Right. It wasn't snapped in half. That's awesome.
I think I remember using a Sharpie to like color it because it was a black P bass,
Right.
and so I think I had used a Sharpie to cover in like where the chunks had gone out, so you couldn't notice it.
Right. I mean, that's like touch-up paint for anything black. So
Yeah, I mean the Fender custom shop, they probably get orders for, people pay money for that kind of customization.
it was relicked. Okay, so should we move on to this next scene? Jesus. So after they kick all the underage drinkers out of the bar, they're discussing the issue. Dennis seems the most upset. Everyone else is just kind of like a little dejected, maybe. I thought it was interesting here that they brought up the fact that like Dennis was upset that no one carded, and Mac specifically says that's not my job.
Yeah, he was the first person to speak up, which is funny because he is the bouncer later, I guess.
Right.
Door guy.
So we haven't really established his role.
I feel like you don't even when his role is established, you still don't see him doing his job.
No,
Other than like
remotely.
the ocular pat down.
Well, I mean, when you have an ocular pat down skill such as his, like, what else do you need?
Yeah.
Okay, so I thought that was interesting that it's established that he is not yet the bouncer. Then they go on to talk about the social responsibility of not having kids drink, and Mac. There's like a slight pause when D says that they do, and he says, "Well, I don't know about that." There's a really funny moment when Mac starts discussing his theory about them having a social responsibility that he puts in air or scare quotes, and throughout his little speech as to why it's better for them to possibly serve minors, Charlie starts like mimicking him, but not in a mocking way, in a the way that like just a small kid would get excited and do the like and mirroring more so.
Yes.
I don't know if you remember this or if you noticed this. I think he says like this situation, and he like spreads his hands out to like indicate this area, and then he says social responsibility with air quotes, and then by the end of it, Charlie, I guess Max stops doing hand motions, so Charlie just starts giving a random thumbs up and an awkward smile, and it's so weird and good.
Yeah, they have a very like juvenile way of like poking at each other.
Well, I don't think he's poking. I think he's supportive and he's excited.
Oh, okay.
I mean, that's how I read it.
I see. Yeah. You're probably right.
Like I said, he's definitely mimicking him, but not in a. I don't think it's in a mocking way. I think it's more just him getting excited and being like, yeah, and then yeah. He's like here, and then air quotes, and then thumbs up, and this just like shit-eating grin kind of weird smile. Anyway, it was very funny. But then he starts to chime in, and they all start to sort of agree with Mac and build on it. And that's when Charlie references Nicky Potnick, because they, when they were young, dumb teenagers, they got in their friend's car and they crashed it, and that happens to be Nicky Potnick. And I don't know what it is, but for some reason in Always Sunny, whenever they reference someone from high school, the names that they come up with are always perfect, in my opinion.
It's incredibly accurate.
It just, like, I don't know why, or maybe it's just someone saying a first and last name of a person that you don't know in that scenario.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, because like I feel like when you're out of high school, you don't call people by their first and last name as much.
Right, or when you just, I don't know, when you say it and you expect people to know it, kind of like it's just one of those funny things. You're like, yeah, when we crashed Nicky Potnick's car.
Yeah,
anyway.
I guess people tend to say your full name a lot. I feel like you're one of those people.
Right. I do have a
it's two syllables.
Yeah, exactly. My full name is like shorter than most people's first name.
Yeah.
Not most, but.
So what's your take on this? Do you think it's safer to encourage abstinence in drinking or drugs in the youth, or do you think it's better to, like, if they're going to do it, have a controlled environment?
That's a great question. I might be a little biased because I have never drank or done any drugs, but I don't know. I've never had to deal with that yet, so I don't know what I would do in that scenario. I mean, I can pretty much say that I feel like this isn't the safe environment that they think it is,
No, of course not. But I mean,
but in
in a
general,
real world scenario,
in the
because I
theory.
mean, I feel like everyone knows like this person's parents who allow them to drink in their basement on weekends.
Right.
I feel like those people exist in every town. And it's like, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Because like then they won't be driving.
Right.
They probably won't get arrested. I mean, they still could get arrested, I guess, but like they're not in public.
They're not hanging out by the train tracks.
Exactly. Yeah, it
They're
kind of
not
reminds me of
driving
like
Nicky
the
Potnick's car down Kelly Drive and crashing into a tree.
exactly. It kind of reminds me of like the argument about like legalizing all drugs because it's
Right.
like, well, people are going to do it. So do you want them to have like government regulated heroin and clean needles, or do you want to criminalize it? It's that same argument, which is like, been going on for as long as human history,
Right.
or as long as like drug laws have been enacted.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I'm not even going to try and have an opinion. I mean, I don't know. Do I not have an opinion or do I not
What's
think
your
I
hot
know?
take? Surely you have a hot take on this.
I don't have a hot take. I mean, because I do think that, like, well, if people are going to do illegal things, you might as well make it legal. I don't know if that's a great argument for everything. So where is the line?
Sure.
Um, does being a parent that allows kids to drink in their basement underage, does that encourage drinking?
Right.
It kind of does.
I
Like,
mean,
if you think it's a bad thing, then why wouldn't you want to discourage it?
yeah. I mean, I
Uh,
think preaching abstinence in anything will lead to more of it, generally speaking. I mean, I guess if I was when I was in high school, I guess I wish that there was someone like that because where I'm from, you're basically driving drunk.
Right.
No matter how you like try to party, so it's like a little more dangerous. I feel like in a maybe like a rural area, maybe not.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, no, I guess that does make sense. I grew up in a place that I thought was the suburbs, but then as I like went to college and then, grew up like, and it seems all like a almost urban in a sense, because like I could walk everywhere. It wasn't urban
Yeah.
at all, but it felt that way compared to some other people's versions of suburbs. So, yeah, no one in my town needed to drive to someone else's house or a bar. Like it may have been a mile and a half, or may have been 2 miles or something that someone wouldn't want to walk, but you
So
totally
you're
could.
blaming it on the suburbs.
Mm, I don't know what I would be blaming. I'm not sure.
I don't know. I'm just trying to put words in your mouth. It's not working.
You're trying to make my takes hotter.
Yeah.
I don't have a hot take.
Trying to
Sorry.
season them. Okay. Well, I tried.
But yeah, I mean, drinking in someone's basement is safer than drinking by the train tracks, most likely. So, but I don't know. Anyway, cool. Moving on. Hand gestures are funny. Uh, what else is funny? Nicky Potnick is funny. Oh, also, I really appreciate that they set the groundwork for Dee's nervous tick of vomiting.
Yeah, I was really expecting the gag to start, but they just alluded to it, which makes me wonder if like Caitlin Olsen like saw a need for a skill and developed it, or if it was just something she was born with.
I think the same thing with Mac's role as bartender. I think a lot of this stuff probably naturally evolved, and we're used to seeing the evolved state of season 4, 5, 6, whatever through 13. Whereas right now we're at the point where they probably don't even know if the next episode is gonna air.
Right.
Yeah,
definitely in that first season. I feel like there's stories around about like how that was just like on the precipice of being canceled. And it kind of makes sense because it was it's not like an easy watch.
Right.
It's not for necessarily like casual viewing. I don't know. Maybe the first couple seasons are better for that.
Yeah, I don't know. I still think if first season, last season, I think it's still pretty polarizing for people. Definitely. A niche sort of thing.
Yes. The scene, yeah, with Dee on the phone.
Yeah, she's on the phone with her mother. Have we seen her mother yet?
No,
Oh, right.
I don't think
neither.
we see her until Frank enters the picture.
Right. But they do start establishing her demeanor in this episode, I
Yes,
guess. So
definitely.
yeah, so Dia's getting chewed out and nagged on by her mother, and she claims that she has to go because she has a date with Steven. And it's a corny joke, but I like it.
Yeah.
Oh, and I'm pretty sure the DVD that she's putting on while she's on the phone with her mother is called Passion Beach.
That's amazing.
I think that's what it's called.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and then obviously she hangs up with her mother and she goes to her end table and pulls out a vibrator. Says, "Hello, Steven."
Porn on DVD. What a concept.
Yeah, back in the day, landlines and everything.
She ends up talking to Trey. He calls and she's like, "Yeah, maybe I shouldn't be talking to you." And then he just, throws out one kind of like cheesy compliment pickup line. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it basically works right away. And then it cuts to Dee and Trey at the park.
Wait. You're skipping my favorite part of that scene. It's not a very long scene, but my
Sorry,
favorite
I
part
was-
is also it's I think you're the most beautiful girl I've ever seen.
There you go.
And yeah, it totally works.
Genius.
Which I think is really interesting because it does. I mean, maybe all of them, but it definitely establishes both Dee and Dennis. Not, I guess doesn't establish Dennis, but they both have a similar response to like flattery, and they have like a certain vanity that they respond
Yeah,
to.
it doesn't take much. It just needs the right cue.
Right. So anyway, but I think when he invites her out, he says, "Yeah, after my lacrosse game, a bunch of us are going up to Lemon Hill," and she goes, "Oh, that's where all the cool kids used to go." And she's like, so his response is, "Oh, so you've been there?" She's like, "Oh, yeah, oh, like 200 times." Um, and just her facial expression and her delivery of, "Oh, that's where all the cool kids used to go," like it's just like paints her as very like earnest, and it doesn't. I don't know. Obviously, she's dating someone in high school, but or sort of, but it sort of paints it in a positive light in the sense that she seems kind of pathetic, not like I don't know. It justifies it
Definitely.
in a weird way, and I guess that's maybe not cool for me to say, but like I don't know. She reveals herself as pathetic, and anyway, she's a good actor. It's cool.
Yeah. So then, we go to Lemon Hill, and Dee is really throwing it back.
Yeah, she's drinking in the afternoon with high school kids. Also, side note, I had to Google it, but Lemon Hill is a part of Boathouse Row.
Of course.
I guess Lemon Hill is the name of one of the mansions, like in that strip. I guess so.
Mhm.
I had never heard it referenced when I lived there, but it it's part of the in the opening credits. You'll see them sort of pan across a bunch of houses with Christmas lights.
Yeah. Of course.
And
course.
that's Boathouse Row. Those aren't Christmas
Mhm.
lights; they're just up all the time. It's just like
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
And so yeah, so Lemon Hill is part of that. It's like the I guess they're on like theoretically they're supposed to be on the grassy section along the river.
Yeah. And in actuality, it just kind of looks like Griffith Park a little bit.
Yeah, it really does look like any any LA park. Yeah, after that Lemon Hill scene, we go back to the bar. I guess it's that night when they post deciding to move on with their plan of serving the minors.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Yeah, it's like a bunch of like rose-colored glasses, uh, recalling high school
right.
as like a magical time for Mac and Charlie, which apparently it was not unsurprisingly.
Right. Yeah, this is where Dennis is like, "Are you guys kidding? Like, do you even remember high school?" And then he references how Mac was, only had friends because he was selling people weed, and Charlie was like a clown or a mascot who would like make everyone laugh, and no one was threatened by him. They wouldn't, they knew that their girlfriends wouldn't sleep with them. Wait, is that where? Right. So when he like kind of shuts them down and points out like the sad reality of their high school history, that's when there's like a brief pause and seemingly obviously it was provoked, but I feel like this is again establishing the this thing that they do is Charlie just blurts out that Tim Murphy slept with Dennis's prom date,
So good.
and Mac like gets excited, and I think it's the kind of thing where he kind of wishes he said it or he had a similar thought, and he kind of chimes in and says the exact same thing right after it, and
Hmm.
he just like reinforces it. Tim Murphy slept with your prom date, like all excited to join in.
Yeah,
ep-
the really impressive thing about this is that I mean, I guess it's maybe not that impressive, but they really went back to this episode for content when they did the high school reunion episode, because
mhm,
Tim Murphy is in it. Nikki Potnick is the name that Frank takes, like
right,
the name tag.
the name tag,
Yeah,
yeah,
I don't know. I just thought of that of Nikki Potnick being Frank.
right. Well, that's one of the things that I like about Nikki Potnick in this, maybe more so than if I had seen this episode without seeing the rest of the series. But I feel like they often bring people back, and it fits so well with, like, they all grew up in the area and they haven't left,
Yeah,
so they have
yeah,
a bunch of high
exactly.
school friends that are still involved.
Right.
Like, the last episode where I forget what her name is, but the woman who thinks that or claims that Charlie's her son's father.
Yeah,
Uh, just still having contact and interacting with all these people from high school and them being reoccurring
it's
characters.
yeah, it's such a foreign concept to me, obviously, because I mean, I haven't talked to anyone from my high school in decades.
Right.
You know,
But yeah, but like you
but
can.
if they were still around, I would probably talk about them the same way that they're talking about them.
Right. And people that, still live in Weskin, like those people would definitely be talking about those people.
Yes,
Like the
definitely.
other, because that's who's around. And it just, I don't know. I think I do like that because they still reference all of these people and it's still a part of their lives. Oh, anyway, the other good thing about this, other than the fact that it's funny to see Charlie just like use the nuclear option to like win an argument by just blurting out that Tim Murphy slept with Dennis's prom date,
Hmm.
is that Dennis kind of like shrinks back and gets really upset by it. And then they start
Yes.
mocking him and asking, "Oh, is you gonna cry? Are you gonna cry? Is baby gonna cry?" And then they end the scene by Charlie leaning over and saying, "Did you see that? He was totally gonna cry." To the person next to him, and as you pan over, it's that first very very underage actor with braces that we saw in the first scene. And it's just so funny that I don't know why, but she was just there the whole time, and the way Charlie's like interacting with her, it's even more juvenile, I guess,
Yeah, it kind of sets
because
him
of
up
it.
as being the gossip hound that he becomes later in this episode. Like
Right,
he really thrives on it and pays attention to everyone's problems.
right, and he really puts him on their level. Like instead of being like the cool parent that lets them drink, he really becomes like one of them. Anyways, um, so I guess whatever. That's that night. And anything else about this scene that you like?
I don't think so. I just want to get to Trey's car because I think Dee has one of the best lines of this episode.
Yeah. So
Um,
we cut to Trey's car and post Lemon Hill on their date. So I think we both have different favorite parts of the scene.
mhm.
Mine mine is when because they're talking about how whatever, I don't know what they're talking about. I think they're talking about Trey's breakup and whatever.
Yeah.
And it's an intimate moment at the end of the date. He's dropping her off, blah blah blah, and then he leans in to kiss her, and she leans in to kiss him, and then at the last moment she says, "Wait." She has this really high pitched, like funny
Mhm.
wait, which is kind of my favorite part.
Yeah, it's very good.
It's so good.
Yeah, so my favorite line in this is I've never statutory raped anyone before. Um,
So good.
that's just a really really powerful line.
His reaction is pretty reasonable.
Let's take it slow.
Yeah, he's just like, "Oh, okay, that's cool, no problem. Yeah, let's just we'll just take it slow."
Another yeah, and that seems to also work on D. You're so sweet.
Right.
It's just like
She's really falling for Trey.
exactly. Is
So
it
then
established?
yes,
Is it established what is Trey like a football player or something? He's wearing a leather jacket, so I wasn't sure.
lacrosse.
Lacrosse.
Their Lemon Hill date is after his lacrosse game.
Aha, yes.
He's actually
Uh,
playing with a lacrosse stick in his room when they're on the phone.
yeah, you're right. You're right. You're right.
which also makes sense because I don't not to ab- abandon or offend anyone in the audience who might be whatever. Does lacrosse exist anywhere outside of high school? Like college, I'm sure it exists there, but it seems like there's a really dramatic peak sort of in high school and college for lacrosse.
Yeah. Obviously, my school did not have it, but I feel like it's maybe in the same league as like volleyball, which is, uh, at least where I'm from, like volleyball was extremely popular,
Mhm.
and I feel like high school is the only level and that people really support. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Maybe there's a volleyball player listening to this right now
Well, here's the thing,
that hates me.
right? And so you have your volleyball haters, and I have my lacrosse haters, but or that's a weird way to say that because usually when you say that, it means the person hates that thing.
Exactly.
But I'm referencing people who do the thing that hate us. Anyway, from my perspective, I'm probably skewed because my dad taught like volleyball adult education at like in my hometown, and
Yeah.
he plays beach volleyball every summer, and my aunt and her boyfriend like travel to see college volleyball like
Then never mind. I was wrong.
all like all over. So they're like my parents go to college volleyball games locally. Like they're really into it. So in high school it's a thing, but in college I think it is pretty popular. But I would say
Is it?
lacrosse is might be just as popular. I don't know,
Yeah.
but I would say, and this might be my perspective, I feel like beach volleyball is like a thing.
That's what I was just going. That's where I was going next.
It
Because that's an Olympic
exists,
sport.
right? I don't. Is lacrosse an Olympic sport?
I have no idea.
Seems like I know.
Not.
I don't know. It
I
seems
don't
like
know.
it would be in the sense that like there are plenty of weird Olympic sports, like if like in the frisbee or whatever, the discus, and like things that you wouldn't think of. Whereas lacrosse, like you're like, oh yeah, my brother played lacrosse in high school. Like, why would that not be an Olympic sport?
Apparently, it is an Olympic sport.
There you go. I would have
Yeah.
I would have hoped, but I don't know anyone who's like played lacrosse outside of high school or like it's not a pickup game. Whereas like volleyball,
No.
it's like oh, if there was a
It
if there
also
was a
kind of.
net, somebody would do it.
Yeah. Yeah. It also kind of has a like prep school vibe or like a private school vibe. I have no frame of reference for that, but that's just kind of what I feel.
In your prep school, did a lot of people play lacrosse?
Huh?
I was just joking and I couldn't say it with a straight face, but joking
Oh.
about you going to prep school.
Yeah. I didn't go to prep school.
Weskin Academy.
Yeah, we had there was volleyball for girls in the fall, football for boys. Winter was boys and girls basketball. Spring was boys and girls track and field, and that's all.
For some reason, I would think baseball would be popular.
Nope. I mean,
Interesting.
people play it like when I was a little kid. I played baseball like in the summer, very very casually. I mean, it was a intra-city
Yeah.
sport. Yeah, and so we just like played the next town over,
Right.
like once or twice a summer, and you practice in the mornings, once a week, twice a week,
Mm-hmm.
as I recall. But it wasn't like a school organized
Right.
sport.
Interesting. It just seems like very American pie. Sorry, apple pie.
It
Very
does.
American.
Well,
like
I'm wondering if it's because there's not enough people.
Mm,
How many
yeah.
people are on a baseball team? It seems like there's a lot.
Yeah, but I mean, I would think just as many as a football team. No, I don't know. But-
Yeah, we my high school played 6-man football.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah.
In that case, then yes, maybe the baseball doesn't function the same way.
Right.
Anyway, moving on. Where do we go after? Back to the bar.
Back to the bar, and everyone's like they're trying to figure out why everyone is so drunk, which I don't feel they don't really resolve.
Yeah, that is weird. But I guess maybe they're trying to reference like people acting more drunk than they are because that's a thing for sure.
Definitely.
I guess that's it. They just
It's
they
just
don't
never
really do
followed up
anything.
on, which is
Right.
a little strange, but
There's no
yeah,
joke. It's just like, oh, remember in high school when people acted way more drunk than they were?
yeah,
Cool.
exactly. Yeah,
But this
Charlie
is
breaks up like a lovers quarrel
right.
in a
This is
very
where
funny way.
we see Sarah for the first time in her terrible acting.
I feel like Charlie Day ad-libbed that
Yeah.
his entrance to the quarrel.
Yeah.
He says "hey" like 12 times.
Keep saying hey when he's like waiting for the next thing.
Yeah.
And then what does he say? What I think he says eyes up here or eyes on me.
Yeah,
He points to his
something like
eyes. He's
that.
like, hey,
Yeah.
hey, eyes on me. Look at me. Cool. And then he says, cool your jets. And then
Yeah.
immediately sends the guy away, kicks him out.
Cool your jets! All right, beat it!
Kind of has like the same feel as if you recall the professor, which was what he was called when he was the school janitor. I feel like he had the same, like, you give him any tiny bit of authority, and he instantly goes into like high school principal mode.
Interesting. I don't remember him being the professor.
Yeah, he takes an orange out of the trash can, and the kid that's walking by when he does that addresses him as the professor or professor.
Anyway, so he breaks up this quarrel. He sends this guy off with a stern warning or whatever, and then he checks in with Sarah and make sure she's okay. And I guess Mac is like, after that's all settled, Mac kind of reacts and he's like, dude, that was amazing. And they were just like, responding to Charlie's just like sort of animal instinct when he just kind of like blew up. But I guess that's all it has. That's all there is. Oh no, they also this is also when we see Tammy for the first time.
Yeah,
right?
Tammy. I was just gonna say Tammy is introduced. I believe she's only been discussed before in regards to Trey. It's like maybe once or twice someone says like Tammy and Trey.
Right, and Trey references her when in the car talking about his breakup.
Yeah. And I guess now would be the time to bring up that the actor playing Tammy is Jamie Alexander. Oh, I looked up and she was on a show called Blind Spot. I don't know anything about it other than I think she has tattoos. It's like Memento kind of.
You saying her character on the show?
Yeah.
Okay. But I feel, are you just referencing that because she's, that's a popular show and that people might have seen that?
She went on to become famous.
Right, but also, I mean, I've never seen that show, nor have I seen the movie I'm about to reference, but wasn't she in the Thor movie?
She was.
I seem like, wouldn't that be like her claim to fame more so, or no?
Maybe. I mean, I feel like we're not the best people to ask because I don't think either one of us really watched network TV.
Right.
I feel like if it was a show on at like 8 p.m. on Wednesdays, my parents would probably know the show.
Right, yeah. So I guess this is a weird thing, but we're both trying to explain why she's famous by referencing shows and movies we've never seen.
Yes.
So,
but I know that she is famous because I thought she looked sort of familiar.
Do you think she's famous because she had a Wikipedia page that said she was in stuff?
No, I mean she's the star of a network TV show.
Oh, in Blind Spot?
Yeah, she is the star. She is the star. She is the lead.
Right. I didn't read that part, I guess.
I mean, just Google it real quick. Just Google Blind Spot TV show and
she has a cool haircut.
Yeah.
See, I referenced her as being evil hot. Whoa, she looks even like more evil in Blind Spot.
Anyways, does anything really happen with Tammy? Oh yeah, she blackmails Dennis.
God damn it, no, she doesn't. She doesn't do that yet. She simply approaches him and says that she's like, hey, she's like trying to seduce him, and he's like, are you in high school? And she's like, and he's dismissive, and then she says, don't worry, dude, I'm 18.
Listen, dude, I'm legal, and I love to party. And he's like, are you in high school? She's like, yeah. And he's like, all right, then go away. I can't deal with, like, no. And then she's like, I forget what she says, but she says something, and she's being seductive, and she puts her number in his pocket and kind of like walks off because she's like super confident,
Yes.
and
I
evil.
believe, she's like, "Do you like what you see?"
Mhm.
And then calls him by his full name, which is a very, very powerful way to introduce yourself to someone.
Oh, you know what? I think this might be part of it, but I think she might even ask. She like tries to confirm it, I think. I think at the intro, I think she might say, "Are you Dennis Reynolds?"
Mm-hmm.
Which sort of makes sense in context of the full show.
Yeah, so I guess she's putting her plot into motion.
Right. Right. Um anyway, so yeah. So and then also, I don't know if I'm like reading too much into everything, but as she walks away, Dennis feeling like the conflicting sort of thing and the intensity from her as she walks away, he just goes, "God damn it," and he delivers a "God damn it" that I feel like they do. I feel
Yeah,
like that is a phrase. D delivers it my favorite way in various episodes, um, but I think that's a common
it's an
expression.
always sunny. Yeah, it's an always sunny trope, I guess.
Right. So I think that might be
'Cause-
the first time we see it. Anyway, so that's the end of that one, and then we move on to Dee's apartment when Dennis comes in angry about being like solicited by this person, and I guess someone references D. Oh, that's it. Tammy must reference D and Trey hooking up, which again reveals her sinister plot.
Does
Um,
she?
I think she does. I think she's like,
Okay.
I think your sister's been hanging out with this boy from my class.
Oh yeah. You're
Subtly
right.
just
You're
like
right. Yes.
referencing it. And that's
Yes.
why Dennis bursts into Dee's apartment and says,
I know you were hanging out with that high school kid from the bar.
she's like, oh, he just needed me to be there for him. And then I forget what happened. Oh, and Dennis says that you've been living out some kind of like sick fantasy, like dating the cool kid from high school. And she's like, what are you talking about? I dated a bunch of cool people in high school. And Dennis is like, "What are you talking about? You were in that giant back brace until you were 20." He's like, "Everyone thought you were a monster," which is also funny because they have established her being a monster for having like a weird fucked up back and being in this giant back brace because
hmm
they haven't yet coined the phrase aluminum monster.
Yes, you're correct.
Um, anyway, I'm trying to get to this part because my favorite part of the scene is when D reacts, but at the end of it, Dennis is basically like telling her that she's just as bad as Charlie and Mac, like with this like with this like romanticized view of high school. To which
hmm
she like snarls her face in the best way and says, "What did she say?" Oh, she says, "Do
Do
not."
not compare me to Mac and Charlie.
But then there's a cut to
Right.
Charlie's apartment, and he's huffing glue, and it's like whatever, it's non-toxic Elmer's glue, so he's not really going to achieve anything. But
Something's happening.
yeah, something's
Nothing's gonna
happening.
happen.
Yeah,
I think
I
something's
love that.
happening.
Something's happening.
He's not gonna happen. And yeah,
So good.
yeah, Mac says, see, it says right here, this is safe and non-toxic. We don't want safe, we want toxic. And that's when they get the phone call from Sarah about the party happening. Yeah. So after they discussed going, and he's like, yeah, fuck it, let's go. So then they walk in, and it's awkward. Just like people standing around not talking, no music or quiet music.
And
It's a
we were
pretty lame party.
arguing about this, but I'm 98% positive that in the establishing shot of the party, the waitress is an extra, basically.
In a blue tank top, with her hand in front of her face. I get it. It's a similar haircut, but like honestly,
I'm telling you, that's her.
in the mid 2000s, that was a very popular haircut in Philadelphia, at least.
Sure. I'm standing by it.
I don't think it is.
I wish there was some way of finding out.
We're gonna let our crack team of super sleuth fans and listeners jump on it, and we're gonna make a
Yes.
poll. Go to the Twitter, go to the Twitch.stream account, and vote for whether you think that is the waitress or not.
It definitely is.
I don't think it is.
Anyways, but yeah, the what's her name, Sarah,
Yeah.
kind of applies the same flattery technique that's been used already in this episode
Right.
a couple times. We were just talking about how cool you guys are.
Right, and that changes everything.
Of course.
Yeah, so she convinces Mac and Charlie to get a keg. Or I guess actually they do a really good cut there too. So Mac and Charlie are saying no, that they won't do it because like at the bar they have a little more control, so they know, blah blah blah, which I don't know how that works, but um and then yeah, so when she says, "Oh, come on, please, we were just talking about how cool you were. Yeah, this would be the coolest thing anyone's ever done." They like look at each other and then it cuts to them like rolling in a keg, everyone cheering, and then them saying, "Who wants to do keg stands?"
If you can believe it, I've never done a keg stand.
I can believe it.
And this probably is going to sound stupid, but I don't know what the purpose of it is. See how long you can drink upside down?
Yeah, that's the part I don't understand. The upside down. What does the upside down part do?
I have no idea.
Does it make it harder? And that's the point?
Maybe? I don't know.
Because there's have you ever shotgunned a beer?
I don't think I have.
So,
but I mean, I understand the point is because it just jams it down your throat.
Right, because like when you're pouring something out of a, container with one hole in it, the air has to come in as the liquid's going out to like displace it. So it gets this like blub 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 blub, whereas if you put a second hole in it, the air comes in one hole and the liquid goes out the other. So it makes perfect sense. But being upside down seems like it would be harder. I wouldn't want to drink water through a straw upside down.
Should I Google it?
Sure. I mean, we're wasting valuable time, but yeah. This is important.
There is a Wikipedia for keg stand. Drinking activity where the participant does a handstand on a keg of beer and attempts to drink as much as possible at once, or to drink for as long as possible. That's all I got. So I guess the actual upside down part is just for show, because the point of the keg stand is to just drink for as long as you can.
Yeah, I don't know. Oh, here's Reddit, perfect.
I mean, maybe you'll have like a rush of blood to the head.
Man, even Reddit doesn't know.
Yeah, I think it's
Oh, wait.
purely for decoration.
One person says, the theory is that alcohol will hit you faster because you're upside down and the blood is rushing to your brain.
I mean, I could see it like making you dizzy or whatever when you get put back on the ground. Anyways, Charlie gets to like 27 or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. And then whatever. Oh, right. And so we have that same sort of awkwardness when Trey and Dee show up at the party. Dee feels awkward, even though the party's kind of happening. She's like, "Oh, I don't know. This is weird. I don't know about this. Maybe I shouldn't be here. Your friends don't really like me." And he's like, "No, come on, it'll be cool." And then when she enters the room with Charlie and Mac, Charlie's got like beer foam dripping off his chin.
So good.
And their interaction is even more awkward, and it kind of hits a pinnacle where they're like, "Oh, yeah, you're here." They're both kind of embarrassed to be at a high school party, but also realizing like, well, you're here too. And then immediately one of them is like,
"You want to do a keg stand?"
75! 76! 77! 77 seconds! That is a new record, baby! Whoa!
So that's cool. They broke the ice.
Mac's playing Flip Cup, which I have played plenty of Flip Cup in my time.
And
you probably
Mac
have too.
I think I have, which doesn't make any sense, but
it's just like a fun thing.
Right. I didn't drink.
No, I know, but I'm just saying
but
I could see someone being like inviting you to play regardless.
And then the final scene at this party that night is when they cut to Sarah annoyingly and poorly acted sharing gossip with Charlie, and that sort of I think that's when that's where he was really radicalized. Yeah, then they cut to the next morning when everybody's passed out in the living room. And Dee's hair is all a mess, and she goes and kicks Charlie and Mac and wakes them up. And they quietly have to go, and I forget who says it first, but I think Dee is like, "Oh man, we got to get out of here. This is getting weird. Trey just asked me to prom. I don't know. This is a mistake." And then they're both like, "What?" And then Charlie's like, "Oh man, that's so weird because Sarah asked me to prom." And
he's so casual about it. That makes it even funnier.
And obviously Mac reacts negatively and says like, "What? No, this is ridiculous. We cannot go to prom." And they both look over and they're like, "Huh, we?
We?
Who asked you to prom?" And, I don't think he answers. He's just like, come on, let's go. This is ridiculous. So it's been established that 2 of them have been asked to prom.
Yes.
Not Mac.
So
it must have started with Friday night, and then Lemon Hill must have been Saturday, and then the party was Saturday night. So this is Sunday morning when they're like waking up after the party.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're cutting to Dennis's apartment. There's a knock at the door,
and it's Tammy.
So Dennis.
This is where she blackmails him.
Yeah, so Dennis answers the door in sweatpants and a t-shirt because, it's Sunday morning and he's just waking up and blah, blah, blah. So he's probably not very excited to see her because she's, like, trying to seduce him and he's trying to avoid it, even though she's evil hot. I guess, yeah, she just basically says, I need a date for the prom and you're going to take me. And he's like, no, that's not going to happen. And at some point, she leans in and grabs his dick. As she's explaining how things are going to go, which I didn't notice. I've seen this episode several times. I didn't notice it until my final watch, like last night.
Yeah, apparently that was a real crotch grab. The actor was encouraged to actually go in for the grab by Rob McElhenney, and so I guess Dennis's reaction is genuine.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Which is pretty amazing that he course corrects and comes back to recite his lines.
Hey, you gotta go.
Isn't there anything I can do to change your mind?
No.
Right. I want to watch
It'd
it.
be very surprising.
Yeah, well, now I want to watch it knowing that and see where the cuts are, see if there's if he got one line out or if he finished the entire scene, whether it's just one cut. I mean, she really does play femme fatale, evil, she does it really well.
She does.
And that just adds to it. So basically her proposition, her blackmail is that she's going to tell the cops that they've been serving minors if he doesn't take her to the prom.
It's a really powerful play. It's the smart move. I mean, they own the bar, so there's a lot at stake.
Right, yeah. So, she puts him in a position where he has really no choice.
Yeah. Very smart.
So, yeah. So her plan is laid out, and we jump back to the bar, and Dennis is freaking out, saying oh wait, actually, I don't know if it matters, but I guess it shows in the alley with Mac, Charlie, and Dee coming in from the party, and Dee is wearing Charlie's jacket, which is just kind of a cute thing. It's funny because they don't reference it, and there's no need for it, but it totally makes sense that Sunday morning, going back from early. Coming back from the shitty bar, Dee was dressed to go out, so she was wearing basically nothing, a super small top. Anyway,
yeah.
Charlie's a gentleman, that's all I'm trying to say. So that's when Dennis is freaking out and says no more underage drinking, and he explains that he got blackmailed. And then they're like, oh, that's funny, we got asked too. And he's like, well, yeah, but you don't have to go.
This scene is very similar to the scene in the first episode when Dennis is like, no more gay bar.
Right. And then, and Mac agrees with him,
Extremely
right?
similar. Yeah.
When Dennis admits that he's gonna go to prom because he has to, or else they'll lose the bar or get arrested or whatever, then Charlie's like, well, if you're gonna go, I'm gonna go. I didn't get to go in high school, and Dee says the same thing. Well, I'm gonna go, and then Mac gets super pissed and storms off. Oh, and Charlie suggests they have a pre-prom party.
And then it just kind of cuts to same location but on prom night, and they're all wearing tuxes.
Yeah, they're all decked out in tuxes, except Dee, who is super wasted and looks like a weird princess.
Yeah, she's wearing a crown, I think.
Yep. Which is really funny because in the Steven scene, or from earlier when she was on the phone with her mom, there's a weird Burger King paper crown sitting over her lamp, her desk, or night end table, whatever.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's the same one, but just odd.
And we know that she alludes to having done beauty pageants in Frank's Little Beauties because she's the coach, or one of the coaches, and she has the most experience.
Right, and that makes sense with her mother. And
yeah,
what we know about her mother's personality.
Exactly.
Okay, cool. So pre-prom, Dee's drunk, everyone's in tuxes. Oh, that's another point where Mac brings up again. He says when she's really drunk, he's like, "That dude's gonna bang your sister."
Yeah, and there's just a really funny scene where they're talking about how, or I think she is talking about how she couldn't go to prom because the
My back brace was under the dress, and Mom called me fat. So I stayed home and cried instead.
Take it slow. Take it slow.
Yeah, I think I referenced.
because she's already wasted and she's like pouring herself a shot.
Right, which makes sense because the whole like nervous thing from earlier, like whenever
Exactly.
they reference I don't think we mentioned it, but when they're talking about crashing Nikki Potnick's car, they also reference Dee throwing up on the headrest because someone liked her and something. Whenever she gets involved with somebody that she really likes, she gets really nervous. So she's apparently drinking because of it. And when Dennis says take it slow, I feel like he's giving the advice, but he's like not saying it loud enough because he knows it's not going to be heated.
Yeah, it's
a very defeated sort of thing.
Yeah,
and this is where Max shows up in full tux, prom, set up. And they're like, "Wait, what's going on?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm going to prom." And they're like, "Oh my God, you're going to crash the prom." He's like, "Yeah, I'm going stag, don't worry." And they're like, "Yo, it's bad enough we're going, sort of. Like, you can't do that." So Mac is undeterred and he is ready to go to prom.
Did you go to prom?
Yes, I did, but I also called it the prom, and I thought it was awkward when people called it prom. Yeah, I feel like there's like
going to the hospital versus going to hospital.
Yeah. Like
going to college versus to university. That's different.
No, well, yeah, I mean that to me makes more sense because it's like a thing, whereas like if it were a fair, you wouldn't say you were going to fair. It's not like a permanent place, like not like you're going to like Texas.
I'm pretty flexible with it, but I want to hear this out.
Yeah, I don't know why, but and it's one of those things. I'm sure like every region or area or whatever. I mean, maybe I'm assuming that everyone in my high school said the same thing, but it always I wouldn't. The best way I could say is like the fair. If you were going to the fair, or like to the movies.
Does anyone say I'm going to fair? Is that even a thing?
No. That's how it felt in my experience growing up, because it was always referenced as the prom. Like, are you going to the prom? Or I guess you wouldn't say, like, there were certain times when you wouldn't say it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you wouldn't say the prom night because it would be prom night, because the night would be, like prom would almost be the adjective maybe or something.
Yeah.
That describes, so it wouldn't be the. I don't know. It was a weird thing, but I did go to the prom and it was stupid. I don't know. Did you have a prom? Like,
we did. Wait, let's go back to yours.
Okay.
Did you have a date?
I did have a date. I was dating someone from my class at the time.
Nice. What did you wear? Did you rent a tux?
I assume I rented a tux.
I'm sure there's photos of it somewhere.
Oh yeah, I'm sure there are. But yeah, it was just pretty boring. Hung out with a few people. It was just like I never liked weddings or did a lot of bar and bat mitzvahs growing up in New York.
Yeah. Formal events.
Yeah, just like they're kind of the worst. I don't really dance. I don't like bad food. I mean, I do like bad food, but I don't like the bad version of good food, which is what they have, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it was kind of whatever. Waste of time and money, but.
Bless you.
I need a cough button.
Yeah, so at my high school, obviously, there was I think when I graduated, there were a total of 30 people in, freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. So you're
saying there were approximately like 6 or 7 people in each grade level.
Essentially, I mean, there were 6 in my class, right. I think. Yeah. So they did have prom, but you could go to it all 4 years of high school if you wanted to.
Right. Otherwise, it would be like
there would be no one there.
4 people.
I don't remember any year other than my senior year. But that was the only year that I had a date. I was not super popular romantic wise.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
yeah,
but also if you have like not romantically, but if you had like one or two friends, that seems like very socially popular in context because you're good friends with half of the people in your class.
Yes. Yeah. Well, my type bros. Two of the like three type bros that I had, they graduated. You know, they'd already graduated. So.
Right.
So yeah, I just took my friend's little sister.
Okay.
And it wasn't like romantic in the least. You know, it was just like I want somebody to.
Right.
Come along. So I don't look like a total loser, I guess. I don't know. It seems odd that I would take it seriously like that, but I think that's what I was feeling.
Right. Yeah. I mean, like somebody to dance with, somebody to talk to, like somebody, to go with. Yeah. I mean, that makes sense.
I remember like dancing a couple times and then I think that was it. I think I took her home.
Do you think that she was excited to go with you or with anyone or to go at all?
Maybe. I don't know. Dude, it was so long ago also. I
know it was exactly the same length.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that I feel like occasionally I would bow down to like the societal norms out there because you can't always be a contrarian. So yeah, I did prom. I think there was like an after prom party that was like school sanctioned, so kids wouldn't drink.
Mm-hmm.
Don't really remember that. Yeah, I don't know. It was a stupid thing.
What was your prom date's name? What was your friend's name, and then what was his little sister's name?
Friend's name was Dave.
Dave what? Come on, last
Well,
name.
okay, I was okay. Well, here's the story. I was that year of high school, I was playing in a ska band.
Right,
and
because it was the late 90s. Totally.
Yeah, and I was playing the baritone sax with the ska band. That was from a town like a couple hours away, and it was the trumpet player from that band, his little sister.
Oh,
Sharon.
Okay.
Her name was Sharon. Sharon, I think.
Last name.
That sounds right.
Come on.
Don't know. I'm trying, dude. I don't know because it wasn't like someone I grew up with.
Right.
But yeah, I used to like drive 2 hours to band practice like once a week. It's so stupid. So stupid.
Did that band play shows?
Oh yeah. We gigged.
Oh well.
But it was always like my first band ended up like kind of lasting a long time. So we were also playing shows, so I would just like do a double header.
Oh, double.
Our bands played together all the time. Yeah. So I would just bassist and singer of one band and then baritone sax player of the other band, and yeah.
Which band was better?
I think they were both pretty bad at that point. My high school band, we ended up getting, I would say, a lot better, but not. That doesn't mean that it was good. But the ska band was just kind of like no one really could play, so it was like really bad. But I feel like that was kind of the style then. It was like really sloppy ska.
Right. I mean,
with like distorted guitars and shit.
Operation Ivy, baby. Come on.
Yeah, I mean that's an exceptional version of that genre.
I often listen to that discography and think like these are like hit songs. These are like singles. Like they're so good.
Yeah, doesn't Tim Armstrong like write pop songs now?
Oh, probably.
He's just like one of those guys who just writes songs.
Well, I mean, jumping back into it, they're at their prom party, and Max shows up and does that thing, and this is where the three of them, I don't know where, I guess D, maybe Trey shows up and D accosts him and kind of like is like drunkenly pawing at him. Mm-hmm. So the three guys are all in their tuxes, and that's when Tammy walks in, and she's wearing this small red dress, and the music changes to this like flamenco style.
Yes.
And it's really great. And it's, I don't know if it's slow motion, but it's a very dramatic entrance. And all three of them are like, "Oh my God." And, I think one of them says, "Who's that?" And Dennis is like, "That."
Yeah.
He's like, "Oh God, that's my prom date." He's like really like frustrated and upset about it. So that's when Charlie and Max sort of change over and they're like, "Damn, oh my God, you're so lucky." No, I think one of them says, "How old is she?" And he's like, she's 18, and they're like, oh my God,
Mhm.
you're so lucky. And he's like, wait a second, you were just like giving me shit for being a creep and like dating freshmen and when we were in high school. Like, so what are you saying now? And they're like, whatever, man, you're good to go. And they're like,
So you guys are giving me the go-ahead? I mean, can I... Go ahead.
Hi, Dennis.
so that's when everything sort of changes for Dennis, and he realized that he's got like societal approval from his immediate, peers.
Kind of for once on the show. Like maybe this is the only time.
Yeah, it's possible. Yeah, he's also like really sketchy and like manipulative and all
Yes.
those things. So if they're not encouraging him, then it's probably justified. But this is the point, as she's walking up, they sort of have this introduction. I think Dennis is getting excited because before he was like begrudgingly doing this out of like blackmail, and he was conflicted, and now he's sort of got this permission from his friends. And that's when I think Trey comes over. Trey sees Tammy and Dennis together. He comes up and says, "Can I have a word with you?" And then they step back and start talking, and they kind of get into a little bit of a heated argument. You can sort of see it from a distance.
Yeah.
And that's when Charlie goes off into his gossip speech, which is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why, it just seems like such a good, well-rehearsed, like,
It's very
well-delivered.
detailed.
Yeah.
That's Tammy, Trey's ex-girlfriend. This is classic Tammy. Trey broke up with Tammy because Maureen Canallen said that she saw Tammy flirting with Walt Timby at a party, but she was only doing it to make Trey jealous because, she thought that Trey secretly liked Aaron Hennebree, but Trey didn't like Aaron Hennebree. It was all a bunch of bull.
What is happening?
Charlie jumps into, like, the same exact speech, and they cut him off.
Yeah, verbatim. Yeah.
It's so good.
Classic Tammy.
Right. Classic.
This is classic Tammy.
And then I guess they're like trying to figure out what's going on, and then eventually we see Trey and Tammy kiss, and that's when they realize like what's happening and blah blah blah. And again, that's when Mac chimes in with
That dude's gonna bang your prom date, bro.
Stop saying it. Stop saying it. It's not funny.
which is the culmination of them constantly telling him that someone's gonna either bang his sister or someone banged or is going to bang his prom date. That's when they start yelling. I don't know why, but everyone starts yelling at each other, and it's a very classic Always Sunny, hate it or love it yelling moment. Which I think Dee leaves because she has to pee, and then Mac's yelling at her, and he's like, yeah, fine, go pee.
Yeah.
And then Dennis storms off for some other reason, and then things calm down, and there's just a weird moment where Mac goes, I hate you, Charlie, then leaves.
Yeah, I thought that part was really weird. But
Yeah, I think that's sort of similar to what we've seen before, where he just needs something to say.
yeah, exactly.
It's
He
like
needs something to abuse.
like the one-upsmanship of like, it's a very childish response, and it makes for a good ending of that scene and episode.
Yeah.
Well, not fully, but so after the next commercial break, we come back to the final scene, which is another favorite of mine because it involves Charlie. Which is Charlie, because Dennis and Dee both lost their prom dates, but Charlie didn't. So Charlie still got Sarah. So we cut to high school prom. Charlie slow dancing with Sarah, and it looks like they're having a really nice time. What is it? It's a version of Forever Young.
I think it's the Alphaville, the OG.
It's weird.
Forever
'cause-
Young.
Yeah, it's like super familiar, but then I was like, wait a second, does this have anything to do with the other Forever Young? Anyway.
The Rod Stewart
Rod
Forever Young?
Stewart. Yeah, like it's like
I think they're separate
totally different.
entities. Yeah.
It's just funny. I mean, not that it's like I mean, it's a common enough phrase that it makes sense, but it was just like a really weird mind fuck when I was like, holy shit, is this are they covers of each other? Like, what's going on? But they just use the same sentence, I guess. Anyway, yeah, so it's a really great song for them to slow dance to, and then Sarah's ex-boyfriend cuts in, and Charlie, as the gentleman that he is, allows it and says, "Yeah, you two kids have fun."
It's a very fitting end to Charlie's arc in this episode, where he's like participating in the high school gossip as sort of an outsider. But he's also participating to a very small extent. And then I feel like that was a nice little bow to wrap that one up.
Yeah, and and I also like the fact that it kind of goes into bookends where once he lets them dance, he kind of like drifts a little bit over to himself, and he just gets to dance by himself to this song and this. He's at prom. He's dancing. He gets. I think honestly he gets what he wants in the best possible way.
Totally.
And it's cute and he's fun.
It is uncharacteristically cute for Always Sunny.
But not. I would say, but not for Charlie.
Sure, or for season 1.
Yeah, and that's the end of the episode.
Anyways, this is the third of, what is it, 7 episodes in the first season. Very short.
Yeah, it's a shorty. That is the end. We have no more things to discuss. Nate has to get to school, and I have to start cleaning.
Yes.
Life calls. Life beckons.
Yeah, so maybe this is in a dump of several episodes at a time. Maybe it's not. But as you can tell, we're getting better and better. Although this one didn't really feel as good, to be honest. I don't know. Maybe there were some good stories about me crashing a car, and
I really wish you had last names for your high school like bandmate, but and prom date. But like
I just thought of it.
Dave and Shara.
Yes.
All right, then I feel good
Why,
about
you
it.
just want to like dox them? Is that what was the point of that?
No,
just because you want to say the full name. Yeah.
Say the full name. Always Sunny, like Nikki Potner.
Yeah.
Tim Murphy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Next week we have Sharon as a special guest.
Jesus Christ! I'm gonna have to beep all the times you say their full names.
Why? You think someone
I don't know. Maybe it's not cool to get discussed on a podcast. I don't know. Maybe not. I think we said something wrong.
Can you imagine when the space is won? Turn our golden faces into the sun, raising our leaves.